Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker, host of the Love You Even More podcast. I'm an author, marriage and family therapist in training, performer, and 2-time Emmy Award winner. Each week, I bring on people from all walks of life to talk to them about their inspiring stories in the fields of self-development, relationships, business, and how you can love yourself even more. For more about me and the podcast, visit us at loveyouevenmore.com. Do we have an episode for you? Today is all about primal dating with Tim Ash. He has written the book on it, quite literally, called Primal Dating. Let me just tell you a little bit about Tim, and then we're going to get into it. He's an acknowledged authority on evolutionary psychology, persuasion, and digital marketing. He's a sought-after international keynote speaker with over 200 appearances across 4 continents and the best-selling author of multiple books, including Unleash Your Primal Brain, Demystifying How We Think and Why We Act. As the founder of a digital marketing agency, his insights help to create over $1 billion in documented value for clients worldwide. He's an advisor to top executives and an all-around good guy. This guy knows dating. So welcome, Tim, to the podcast.
Thanks, Jackie. It's great to be with you.
It's so great to have you here. Your book is so great. I have not been able to finish it because God knows I have so much to read. But every time I start reading it, I'm like, this is so good and so well written. It's just so easy to read. I love it. I really love it.
Thank you. It's so funny because you get different stuff from different people. Generally, we've gotten that response that it makes the medicine go down easier, even though we're talking about some controversial stuff. But my wife's like, well, that's a little too hokey. You're trying to be cutesy and use humor too much. And it's like, it's making it hard for me to read it. So, it's different strokes for different folks.
Oh, I love the humor. That's actually the part that I like the most. It just feels so authentic and real. And you're just laughing because you're like, that's true.
Yeah. The tone that we try to write it in is like your best friend who's telling you stuff that you need to hear, but they're doing it in a kind but direct way. That was the idea, basically.
It absolutely comes off that way. I just love it. So the reason I really love this book is because it really does teach you from a primal perspective what dating actually is and how we are as humans, not so much as primates, but close, real close. How similar we are, but I loved how you put it. You're like, we're both jealous and non-monogamous. It's really a fun little situation we have where the temptation's there, but go on, talk, speak.
Well, yeah, thank you. Can't take credit, solo credit. My brilliant co-author, Dr. Lamore Gottlieb, and I wrote this book, and our goal was pretty simple. We were trying to strip back kind of the layers of culture and say, what are we like as a species? And as you mentioned, a lot of stuff comes out of that, like we're not lifelong monogamous. We're monogamish long enough to have helpless kids and raise big-headed babies. And but we both play side bets for different reasons, and are non-monogamous. And then we have, like you say, jealousy going on overdrive. And so we're in that awkward teenage stage of development. Most other species are either fully monogamous, very few actually, right, or fully promiscuous, and they don't think twice about it. So We're kind of like I said, just got the worst of both worlds, non-monogamy and jealousy.
Oh my goodness. It is really interesting. I kind of want to get into the very beginning of the book let's just start with how men attract, and then we're going to get into how men and women select, but it's different when you come at it from such a primal perspective, right? So while we live in this incredibly modern world right now where it feels like technology is everything and dating is different and relationships are so different, I don't actually think we're that different. So
yeah, that's actually the key premise of evolutionary psychology, which is that, we, even as modern humans, evolved for 200,000-300,000 years. That's 1,000 generations or something like that, or 10,000 generations rather. Wow. And only in the last 50 years or so has our society changed and become this crazy mix of stuff that we see today. So we're trying to peel all that back. And so many things are cultural. Like if I say, we have this in the book, I'm going to say some statements to you, and you'll love some of them and you'll hate some of them. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Nuclear marriage is decreed by God. Women
Oh,
are less logical than men, and they're more emotional. The patriarchy is the cause of all women's problems, right? You go on like this, or I'm looking for my soulmate. These are all cultural ideas. Some of them are rooted in our evolutionary biology, but
yeah,
most are just things that we tell ourselves, like we're lifelong monogamous. That's another one. It's not
right.
true as a species level. So our goal is to bust all of those cultural myths and really lay it down from an evolutionary psychology perspective. By the way, that sounds all sciencey, but as you know, the book's written in a very humorous tone, so
Yes.
it's not a hard read.
No, it is a very, very fast read and very easily understood. I think what's kind of interesting too is that we are living in a life or a time now when we have polyamory, and that's becoming very accepted. And yet, it's still like hard for a lot of people to even think like, oh, I wouldn't want to share, or I don't want an open marriage or an open relationship. But yet, as a species, that seems normal. But can you explain more like why we as a species would be going more towards this when we still have
Sure.
jealousy?
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned how men attract and how women attract. Those are very different. So the first thing to understand is that we're really not the same. I mean, I have to argue with this with my 18-year-old daughter. She says men and women are the same. And I'm
No,
like, oh,
no.
it's not true.
Mm-mm.
And we're radically different. So if you look at other species, if they're about the same size and they look the same and they do the same behaviors, they're kind of the same and interchangeable. That's not true for humans. Men are on average 25% larger than women. That's a huge difference. Men
Mm-hmm.
have 15 to 20 times more testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the same. So behaviorally and functionally, we're very different. And so those asymmetries play out in a number of ways. One of them is basically that because we have such a long delayed to maturity in our babies, women have to take on a lot of the caretaking burden. So they're taking this massive risk to say, and again, this is back on the savannah where we evolved for in groups of a few dozen people, this massive risk of like, if I don't pick the right guy, I'm going to die
Yeah.
because he's not going to take care of me and I can't take care of my baby because it's useless and I have to spend 24/7 with it. So
Mhm.
the cartoon is, but it's pretty close. Men go off hunting. You wouldn't use weaker women with more or less aggression to go hunting. That would be another death sentence. So the men go off and hunting and the women are there taking care of the big-headed babies, inevitably. And
Mhm.
so the main thing to describe the difference between men and women is risk. Like,
Ooh.
on average, if you look at any bell curve on any dimension, on any behavior, men and women are the same,
Yeah.
pretty much. What's different is how tight that bell curve is. Women tend to cluster in the middle, and men have these really wide bell curves. So basically, women bred us for more risk.
Wow.
Another way of saying that is like there are more cowards and more heroes among men. There are more geniuses and more morons among men. The bell curves are always wider for men. Women have to be risk averse and place their bet on finding the best partner that's available to them. And
Mhm.
men have a different strategy. Short term, of course, you try to spread your seed, but long term, you also want to have long term caretaking of your baby because without that care from the father, it doesn't survive either. So
Right.
both men and women have different strategies and short-term and long-term different strategies. Both play side bets with infidelity for different reasons. Happy to talk about all of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it does make sense. Like, you talk about like women are looking for provisions, right? We're looking for
Mhm.
provisioning. We need a provider, someone who's going to help us while we take care of the big-headed baby and literally go hunt slash provide. And we choose based off of attraction. Like, do I like him? Do I want him physically? And also, could you make sure we don't die? Could
Yes.
you provide materially for us as well? And actually, you have this like little diamond graph that I loved.
Yes, the diamond of women's selection. Yes.
Yes. Can you talk about that? Because that was actually perfectly put. That's
Sure.
the whole
So
book
let's talk
is.
about men's and women's. So
Okay.
again, there's differences in how we attract and how we select. You need both to happen if you're going to pair up, right? And there's short-term and long-term strategies for both. But for men, it's pretty simple. We can tell if a woman's desirable by visual inspection. Again, if you're going to pump out a bowling ball during childbirth, you need wide hips and a relatively small waist. And so that zero point 0.7 or so waist to hip ratio is universal across all cultures. Blind men find that the most attractive. It's not some
Great.
trick of the patriarchy. Okay. Now, and so men can visually tell who to approach, and women can't tell that. I don't know what your 401k balance is. I don't know what kind of car you drive. So for provisioning standpoint, it takes longer to figure that out. And so men's selection is based on visual inspection. Women's selection is actually two dimensions. So we talk about that diamond of women's selection. The
Yeah.
first is attraction. There's still got to be, I find you hot. And that could be physical appearance, how you dress. It could be a certain confidence, certainly how you carry yourself and your energy. And then there's the provisioning part. So attraction and provisioning. Provisioning is, can you consistently provide resources for me that are better than what I have right now
Hmm.
myself? And
And
we'll
we
come
hear
back to
women
that.
say that all the time now. Like, I don't want to disrupt my peace for someone who's going to either make my life harder or who can't give me more than what I already have. Like, that is a statement that is flooding dating right now.
Yeah, and it's not just dating. Again, so even the idea of dating, this is like long-term deep drives inside of us. Dating makes it sound like it's some optional cherry on top of my life Sunday thing. It's not.
Yeah.
These are very deep needs, I would say. And you're absolutely right. So hypergamy is the technical term for it, but basically what it means is I want someone as a woman who's going to do better than I am. In fact, my best option. So women will always look for that. And ironically, because of modern society, you're doing great. You're educated. 60% of college degrees, bachelor's degrees are awarded to women. Women are out earning men in major metros
Mhm.
until they decide to have a baby and step off of the gerbil wheel,
Mhm.
right? So that's great. And I want that for my daughter. And at the same time, that deep instinct of wanting someone who can provision even at a higher level than I can do for myself,
Mhm.
that's where the problems are. So there are fewer and fewer people in that category. So men that have historically been good options for women are essentially invisible to them right now.
Right. And you talk about that, the invisible man. Explain what
Yeah.
that looks like.
Okay. So yeah, and we talked about that diamond of women's selection. So at the bottom is low provisioning, low attraction.
Mhm.
I don't find you hot, and you've got nothing to offer me lifestyle wise. That guy is invisible.
Yes.
Okay. Now there's the bad boy. That's high attractiveness and low provisioning. And the idea is usually this happens earlier in life. It's like you have the aggression, the swagger, I find you sexy. And then if that doesn't materialize into long-term provisioning, I'm going to dump you at some point. So the
Mhm.
guy that has his rock band in high school or is willing to take you on the back of his Harley somewhere,
Right.
grow up at some point or else I'm dumping you, right? So
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
So I'll sleep with you, but I don't expect long-term provisioning. I'm not going to stick around. On the other side, you have the friend zone, and
Hmm.
then dread ending up in there. And that's basically, I'll provision you, but you don't find me attractive. And women wish they found these men attractive. They're nice. They're confidants. They're willing to listen to their problems. They're willing to take them to dinner and do activities with them. And you kind of wish you liked them more.
Yeah.
But one of the advice we give to men is once you end up in the friend zone, it's a one-way ticket. A woman will never pluck you out of the friend zone. That only
Yeah.
happens in rom-coms.
Oh, that's so true.
And then at the top is high provisioning, high attractiveness. And that's your Prince Charming or husband material, whatever you want to call it. The problem with that is there's huge competition among women for those men. It's white hot. And those guys are basically rock starring it right now.
Mhm.
And they're never going to give you exclusivity. They have no reason to because most men work their whole lives to get optionality with women. Why
Right.
would they give it up? It's like an 18-year-old who has to beat men off with a stick.
Yeah.
And, it's like, just leave me alone. You're not going to get long-term provisioning from the Chads, the top guys.
We don't want the Chads, guys. Um, yeah, no, that's true though. That's so true. I mean, I think that's why we see a lot of like, hot, rich guys who got their, stuff together and then they marry their first wife. And now they have their second or third wives, as we've just seen with, was it Elon Musk that just got married again? Or
I think it was Jeff Bezos.
that's
Yeah.
it. I was
Yeah.
close.
Another
Yeah,
billionaire that's
one of those billionaires. But no, he just remarried again. And like, listen, I'm not going to judge anything with that marriage, but it is really interesting that his first wife is this like incredibly accomplished, lovely woman. Nothing wrong with her, but he's like, okay, it's time to trade in for a younger, better model. And he did.
yeah, and it's and there are a lot of social judgments around that, but this is a perfect segue into talking about it's not just men and women that are different. It really depends on life stage. Do you want me to break that down a little bit?
Yes, please.
So one of the chapters in our book is called Crossing Curves. So if you look at the large scale studies of what other people find attractive, what you'll find is in terms of what's called sexual marketplace value, basically how desirable are you as a potential partner, women start very high, higher than men will ever be on average, and drop the rest of their lives. So your peak is, I'm sorry, 18 to 22 or something like that. Okay. And then it goes
Much hotter
down.
now. Much hotter now.
I won't argue, but okay. But so there are exceptions to the general rules, but on average, this is what we're seeing. And men start off low and then peak between 40 and 60. The peak's around 50 and a very flat peak. So basically what you have is two crossing curves that cross at 30. At 30, men and women on average are equally desirable. And so with that, but what that implies is that you have different strategies. So for women essentially have their power handed to them, and then that power declines. And men are useless when they're young. So they have no power. They're useless to women because women are getting better provisioned older men being attracted to them. And they're useless to other men because they don't know crap. They can't literally do anything. And so men have to essentially earn their power for a couple of decades and then it peaks after that. Whereas women have their power essentially handed to them and then it declines after that. So what you find right now in the US is the date of first marriage for a woman is now 29.
Yeah.
Just before that crossover point. They've pushed it as late as possible while they still are on a kind of equal footing. But then, like you say, by the time you get to 40, men have a much higher average sexual marketplace value than women, and that advantage stays for the rest of their lives. So like you said, you may be the woman's like, I put him through medical school and I was there for a while. He was, sleeping on his couch and all that. But you don't get extra credit for
that
time you've already put in. And so usually in midlife, if a man's going to do a reset, is because they have a younger, higher value, if you will, women as options, and they're going to do a hard reset. That's the unfortunate truth. They'll often go for a younger woman. And then you have the equivalent of that, which is like older women will go for much younger guys. They're not looking for the provisioning, they're looking for the genetic upgrade. So, I'll play that. We call that section Cougars playing the game on hard mode.
I can't wait to get to that. Oh my God.
And then in the middle, there's that temporary crossover point around 30 where you have kind of equal value, but the curves are headed in different directions. And the biggest instabilities are actually on the sides, like I described. One is in midlife. The other is young women and young men, same age people, but the guys have no chance. I mean, unless you're the star athlete or your parents own half the city, good luck. It's not going to work either. So those are the most unstable parts. Same age young or same age middle-aged or older.
Okay. So you're middle-aged, which we do see a lot of this happening, right? You're like, I don't know, 40 to 45 or somewhere in that range, something. Okay. You got married at like 29, 30, and now you're getting divorced at like 40, 45.
Yep.
Then what?
Well, so here's then what depends on if you're the man or the woman. So the then what is let's go back to evolutionary psychology. What is evolution? It basically means we're doing this rough sorting and people find roughly equal value partners and they stick around long enough to have kids who can in turn have kids. That's all evolution cares about.
Right.
So after your fertility is done, let's say after 40, because most people don't have kids after 40, men or women, evolution doesn't care about you. I mean, you're there in the role of the elder, of the taking care of your children. And
Right.
traditionally, if, again, back in the day, your grandchildren, possibly. So you're transmitting culture, you're
Mhm.
enabling others to succeed. But your happiness, I hate to say this, in midlife, for both men and women, evolution doesn't care about your happiness. It's certainly not guaranteeing, let's find the one, or I'm ready for a real relationship and my ride or die, my last first date, somebody to unplug me from the machines after, at the end of life. That's not necessarily in the cards and is very unlikely, in fact.
Oh God, that's so depressing.
And men have that sustained advantage after
Right.
that point. So, and there's something that makes things even worse.
Great. Go for it. Let's
Okay,
just get it
I'm going to
over with.
depress every woman listening to this. Okay, this is, we, by the way, the book is set up. We have the evolutionary psychology stuff, how modern society distorts things, and then we have guides for men and women from the perspective of the other. You should really read both guides because
Oh,
you'll
yes.
understand yourself and then you'll understand the other sex. So, but one of the things that we tell women is that men don't care about your resume.
Oh, I've heard this for years. I try
Yeah,
to tell women this all the time. Go for it. Tell us why.
yeah, because men aren't looking for an upgrade in their lifestyle. They're expected to be the providers, or at least carrying their weight.
Mhm.
So at best, it's a neutral proposition. At best, it's like, okay, great, you're interesting, you're educated, you're smart. That's fine. That's what I'm looking for, actually. But if you bring that boss lady stuff to the relationship, and then you're butting heads,
Yeah.
that's actually a negative. That means you're higher maintenance and you think you're all that. And so
Mhm.
men aren't afraid of successful women. They're just, you don't get any extra credit for it. And here's the thing that women don't want to recognize, and this is what I was getting at. If you chose to invest time in your career, your sexual marketplace value and desirability has been sliding. In fact, the fastest decline is from about 20 to 40 for women in
Mhm.
your fertility window because,
Mhm.
men want long-term relationships, and you can have multiple kids end to end with a woman. You want her essentially as young as possible.
Mhm.
And so if you look at that, women think they get extra credit for, I have the MBA, I
Yeah.
have my own house, I don't need a man, I
Yeah.
look good in my Lululemons when I go to yoga class. That's all great, but that's actually not going to offset the drop based on your age.
Right.
Men are still going to select for younger women when given the option.
Okay.
So it's in a way, there's a lot of lies on the red pill extreme men's community. There's a lot of lies on the feminist side too. Like, that doesn't matter. Choose your career first. Yeah, it's actually a big trade-off, and a lot of women are
Yeah.
ending up on the other side of that successful career and going, "Where are the men?" Well, they're not there.
Right. Well, and I think even on the opposite, like you're saying too, it's like, well, say you didn't focus on your career, had kids, were married, and now you're getting divorced at, mid 40s.
Hmm.
Now what? Like career wise, love life wise, like what are women in middle age supposed to do if they're like, oh crap, I'm divorced?
There's a lot of frustration, that's for sure, and I'm hearing that from a lot of my friends, as well as more statistical and sciencey based stuff. And one thing, again, we talked about monogamy earlier in the conversation. One thing that you should consider is, what do you need a man for? Well, I'll broaden this out. What do you need an intimate relationship for? One of the advice items that we give to people of both genders is put as little as possible on the intimate relationship. So if I ask you right now, Jackie, what do you absolutely need from an intimate relationship that you can't get in any other relationship?
Yeah, it would be pretty little, but I think and I don't know if I'm going to articulate this correctly, but it would be the kind of love that I can give myself, but feels differently from a partner who
Okay.
loves me. If that
Okay,
makes sense.
so I'm going to call that, broadly speaking, a certain level of emotional intimacy, of
Yes.
closeness and vulnerability, of being seen, right? That
Yes.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably physical intimacy. I
Right.
mean, and so if you look at that, that's what you need and can only get in an intimate relationship. The other
Mhm.
stuff that people are piling onto it, be my best friend, be my lover, like the same movies, have the same friend groups, go play pickleball with me. Those are wants. And so if you overload the relationship and don't take responsibility for getting those wants met in other ways, you're not the very tenuous relationships that are especially hard to maintain these days are going to be impossible to maintain.
Yeah.
So one thing is you should pull back your blinders and really strip it down to needs and really consider if your wants can be met some other way. So that would be like, do you want a man to live with you? Not necessarily. Do you want to
Yeah.
see him once or twice a week? Fine. He could be that Sunday on top of your perfect life. Uh,
Right.
and or that cherry on top of the perfect life sundae rather,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean, for example, then there's a lot of things that aren't there. A wedding ring,
Hmm.
even living together, exclusivity, these are all things that you really need to take a hard look at.
Yeah. So if someone does want that, or like there are so many people who have like waited to have kids or waited to have to get married, and now they're like, oh, I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
Hmm.
And you're saying this, it's like, then I guess then what? Is it
Well,
more about like,
we're looking at this as reality based, not that we
yeah,
have prescriptions for this in the sense of
that's a good point.
my wife and I met when we were in our mid 30s, and we just had a couple of kids under the wire around 40. We were about the same age. So,
Yeah.
and my co-author, Limor, same thing. She got her PhD. She met a great guy. She's having her second kid right now. I think she's early 40s or right around 40. So it's like maybe you can squeeze it all in. But the reality is, again, maybe if you chose your career first and that opportunity for having a relationship with the kind of man you want and to have time enough to have kids passed,
Mhm.
that's evolution's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
It's not here for your happiness.
No, that's for sure.
And
Okay.
again, I know this is some hard stuff to hear, but at the same
No.
time, it's better to go into relationships. We have lots of advice for both men and women based on the evolutionary psychology, but it's better to go in eyes wide open, and then
Yeah.
it is to have these, pretty woman fantasies like Richard Gere is going to appear with a bunch of roses for you.
Wait, what? I wanted that.
Of course.
Grew up on that.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Actually, you did mention this, and this is not about it. Well, you mentioned like men with the red pill theory and like women in feminism. Can we
Hmm.
talk a little bit to the red pill theory and like how men are feeling towards women right now? Because this is a big, big deal that's happening with, there's a sort of section of men who really it feels like hate women because women are like, no, I
Hmm.
want more. You've got to do more. You can't just show up and give me, the bare minimum.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So first of all, let me just give you my and Lemoore's take on this at a high level, which is that men and women evolve for complementary needs. They're very asymmetric, but we're trading things that are equal value, but they're different in
Mm-hmm.
kind.
Mm-hmm.
If you could fulfill all your needs yourself, you wouldn't need a relationship, but that's not how it works. We need each other. Okay, so
Yeah.
right now we have this massive breakdown in relationship formation. People aren't getting married less often, getting divorced more often. They're not entering a relationship. They're not even having sex, for God's sakes.
Right. There's a whole epidemic happening.
Yeah, I mean, so here's a stat for you. Men under 30, a decade ago, 10% of them hadn't had sex in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you'd say, well, I can justify that. In the last decade, that's tripled. 30% of men under 30 have not had sex in the past year. And so these are societal level problems, civilizational level problems. That primal instinct to mate and to have purpose and to be selected for that, it's not going away. It usually comes out in political polarization, violence, and all kinds of really negative things.
Yeah.
So I don't, neither side can win the gender war. That is absolutely stupid. I don't care, again, if you're a feminist shock trooper or a red pill asshole, you can't win the gender wars. You're just making
Yeah.
it gross and worse for everybody else. So we're trying to get kind of past that and understand that there are giant asymmetries and that there's a tension because men and women are selecting each other to be the best
Mm-hmm.
from an evolutionary standpoint. But that's not one side wins kind of situation. So I want to
Yeah.
address that first. Is that
Yeah.
fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to your question about the kind of the distortions in our modern society. So here's what's going on. So first of all, um, women took control of their reproductive destiny. The pill in the 1960s. Great. So that means you're no longer like playing Russian roulette every time you have sex that you might get pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, along with that, came this need in all advanced societies for women to enter the workforce. Because imagine if half your population is pumping out babies and not doing anything else. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to lose the kind of civilizational war. And so women in every society entered the workplace, and they do well in school because they sit still better, among other things. Boys have that ADD and aggression and all that stuff. So women are now doing great in schools, in work. Um, Boards of directors with women on them outperform board companies that have only men on them. I mean, there's a lot of great things that are coming out of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what you have is essentially a lie that was sold on the feminist side, I believe, and Limor does also, which is that you should do your career first and that there's no impact. You can have it all. So women have been fed the lie of you can have it all. It's
Mm-hmm.
not true. No one can have it all. You have to have your priorities. And as a result, what you're finding is this distortion. Again, I'm educated, I'm smart, I still take care of myself. I deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the distortions of online dating, which are horrible.
Mm.
The best people aren't on dating apps.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, seriously. Because think about it. If you're a successful, well-resourced man, and you're not going to spend your time on dating apps,
Yeah.
trying getting your rejections by the hundreds. And if
Yeah.
you're a desirable woman, your option is a trip to Dubai for the weekend or meeting some schmuck in a local dive bar and seeing
Yeah.
if you vibe, right? That's
Right.
a too high an opportunity cost for attractive women.
Right.
And so the best people aren't on there. The ones that have secure attachment styles aren't on there. So what you
Right.
have is this kind of weird sorting of people with a lot of trauma, and everybody is also kind of how would you say, misrepresenting who they are
Yep.
visually, and in terms of you can hide behind your profile. There are twice as many men on
Mm.
dating sites. That's already a massive disproportionate impact.
Mm.
And then men are making the approach. By the way, we talk about in a relationship, you have three choices. Men have the choice of who to approach. Women have the choice of who to have sex with. And men have the choice of who to continue to provision and
Mm.
put resources into the relationship. Those are the three choices in any long-term relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's happening is men are always going to make the approach almost universally.
Mm-hmm.
Online, that has no consequences. I'm swiping right on hundreds of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so women have their inboxes full. Even the undesirable ones think that they're literally, I mean, I've talked to people that run dating sites, they think they're tens because of the amount of attention they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, I'm educated, I'm successful. You put that
Yeah.
on top of it, and they're not considering men that would have been a good match in the past. And to make things even worse, uh, women are also have what we call stranger danger. I mean,
Yes.
tell me if this is true for you, but we believe that a foundational need of every woman, because she's physically weaker and because she has to also take care of potentially babies, has to be much more tuned to threats. So any guy, while he's a stranger, is, your worst nightmare come true. And
Yeah.
so but think about it online. Every man is a
He's a
total
stranger.
stranger. So on a scale of 1 to 10, men are dropped another 2, 3 points for being
Mm-hmm.
strangers. So you
Mm-hmm.
have all these distortions, more men, higher approach behavior, women's entitlement in terms of their thinking that education helps them or something, and stranger danger. And basically, the women are all only going for the top guys, the
Mm-hmm.
ones least likely to give them, again, any kind of commitment. So what you have is pissed off women, especially middle-aged, higher educated women,
Mm-hmm.
pissed off men, and then the Chads, the top 5% guys, having a field day. That's the current state of play.
That feels correct. No, God, the stranger danger thing. I'm so glad mention that because I haven't been on apps in years, specifically for that reason, because I kept running into crazy people who were like
Hmm.
stalking. It was not good. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to be here to begin with. This all feels terrible.
Yep.
So I haven't done it for years. I'm a naturalist. I find people in the wild and
Yes.
etc. And I ask
Which, by
for
the way, we recommend also get off the online and go actually meet people in the real world. But
well, because when you meet someone in real life, I mean, you instantly suss out who they are. Like your body is reacting to, do they feel safe? Is my nervous system okay? Like, am I
yes.
attracted to that person? Like,
Yes.
there's so much that goes into it as like a, an assessment that your body is doing when you meet someone. And to your point with apps, like everyone's putting filters, they're not representing themselves. How could you possibly know who you're really talking to or if there's any kind of real attraction until you see them in person? But the idea of seeing someone in person with all of the flooding of the emails and the inbox, all of it, you don't even want to go. I don't want to
Right. And
go.
you know what makes this worse? Again, just the traditional strategies, short-term mating behavior for men is to get as much sexual variety as possible. That's the
Mm,
short-term strategy. Okay. Long-term is invest in a single woman, make sure your children turn out all right.
mm,
Now, what do men do? They substitute for that. In our time and right now, it's porn. I
mm.
can be with hot tens in any position with two of them or a donkey involved or whatever, anytime I want to, right? On
Yeah.
demand. And for women, the equivalent of that is okay, well, I want a man, let's say, partly for long term provisioning. So back in the day, that meant I want $1 million from one guy.
Mm.
And now it can mean I'm going to pretend to do yoga and do downward dog on my OnlyFans channel and show my camel toe and through my tight, jeans or whatever. And then I get $1 from a million guys. So
Wow.
that's a temporary substitute for provisioning, or not temporary, as long as you're
Yeah.
attractive enough and willing to show enough of your body, I guess.
Yeah.
But the point is, those are pale substitutes for real relationships. Men are satisfying their sexual urges with porn. Women are satisfying their provisioning urges with OnlyFans. So they're that much less likely to venture into the real world and try to meet people and form relationships.
Right. And also for the women who are not doing OnlyFans, because there's quite a few of us.
Yeah.
We're doing other things that make us happy, which is basically staying home. There are so many women who are like, I'm home. That's where you're going to find me. I'm home, cozy, with a great meal that I just made, watching my
Hmm.
favorite show. Like,
Yeah.
we are staying inside, which is not helping any of us. But again, back to the stranger danger thing. It's like, no, I would rather stay home. I work too hard because I don't have someone providing for me. And I
Hmm.
don't want to go out and meet a stranger who may suck
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
stalk me. And it's just like it feels kind of like a no-win kind of game.
Well, there are ways to kind of tilt the odds in your favor, if you will. But you're absolutely right, and I'm not going to minimize that. The thing about staying home and opting out, it's on both sides.
Yeah.
About 80-90% of men are no longer in the dating pool. And again, that leaves 5% of Chads and maybe 10% that are willing to still take you on a traditional date if you can
Yeah.
sift through the rest, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys are damaged. And I'm just saying it like it is.
We're
But for
speaking some
women's
truth.
side, there's like, have you heard about these, like, there's Facebook groups like, are we dating the same guy? Like, there's,
I have been on that. I was on that for a while. It was terrifying.
yes. And so for those of you not aware of it, there's also like a national version, a new app called T, which by the way got hacked and all these people's info
Oh,
was released.
oh my
But
God.
basically what it is like, think about what it is. The motivation is simple. It's like, we don't want those scary scenarios with that guy that might chop you up and leave you in a barrel of lye or something like that in pieces, right? So
Right.
the idea is supposedly safety. But really, what it's become is women bitching to other women about guys and tearing them down and saying, this guy's awful. And there's no accountability. There's no, I've even went out on a date with this guy. How do you prove that, right? You can
Yeah.
just badmouth anybody and you
Wow.
can destroy people's reputations. People have lost their jobs over this and so on. So I'm hearing from a lot of men anecdotally that are like, I'm just done. This is like Me Too scary. I haven't even done anything or
Right.
been out with women, but there's the potential to get destroyed on this T app. And so it's getting even more polarized at the moment.
Wow. What do you think we're headed towards?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, Well, we have a few thoughts. So the book is broken up into evolutionary psychology, the modern marketplace, if you will, modern distortions, men's and women's guides, and then we have a few closing thoughts. One of them is, I can guarantee we're going towards massive depopulation
Yes, I
as a
agree with that.
species. As quickly as human populations rose, they're going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
Because relationship formation isn't happening. People
Mm-hmm.
living in large cities are having fewer children.
Mm-hmm.
Women that are delaying their relationships for career and earning money are having fewer children and later in life and less likely to be carried to term in a healthy way. All that stuff.
Yeah.
So within the next few decades, we're going to see like this downhill slide across all societies where they're getting older. Younger people are not having relationships, and
Right.
we have no economic model for that. I mean, what do you do when it's
Right.
top heavy, gray haired people and no kids?
Right.
We That's not capitalism. That's not communism. That's not fascism. We just have no model for that at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's coming except for the fact that the populations in the developed world are already going into reverse. China is imploding.
Yeah.
Japan is aging. Germany's gone. Italy is close behind. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really a weird world that we've never seen in thousands of years.
Guys, just go have a kid. That's basically the moral of the story today. Just go have a
No,
kid.
okay, wait. I'll leave you with some good stuff. I don't mean to depress the crap out of everyone.
Before you get to the good stuff, I want to make one comment about this. Besides, go have a kid. Um, okay, I've been thinking about Gen Z and the Gen Z
Hmm.
stare, and just right, it's insane. It's the scariest thing, you guys. Not, and by the way, not all Gen Zers. For those of you who are listening, this is not at all of you, but there is a Gen Z stare which I have encountered before. It's a thing.
Describe it because some people may not know what it
I'm gonna.
is.
It's really, it's almost like robotic, where there's no expression, there's barely any words given back. So you could be like, hey, I have a question. Like, do you prefer, like, you're trying to order a coffee or something? Like, have you tried the like dark roast versus the light roast? I mean, is one of them better? I can't make up my mind. They'll stare at you. They'll have nothing to say. And then they'll say, they're both good, with like no inflection, no emotion.
Right.
It's like everything you ask feels like cringy to them, and also very like impersonal, but like it's like I'm in their way, like
Hmm.
I'm trying to buy something from the store that you
Right.
work in, and I think I'm bothering you. It's
Yeah, and
like,
so Gen Z waiters will also say like you thank them for something and go no problem. Well, yeah,
right.
you're getting paid for this now, so presumably you want a tip too, right? So no problem. I don't mean to be an
Right.
inconvenient customer for you.
Right. Sorry I showed up on your shift. I don't know. So what my thoughts are that, they're so weird with everybody, and I wonder if they're not as weird with each other, but I
Mhm.
sense that they are. I think that there is this like technology, like, window that they have, that they're just like, I only know how to respond via text. I
Yeah,
only know how to communicate via technology.
yeah.
I don't know how to be in person, and I don't know how to have intimate relationships or have any sort of vulnerability.
Ooh,
Scares
you
me.
you you pretty much nailed it.
Oh,
And
good.
I have direct experience with this because I have a 20-year-old son and an 18-year-old daughter.
Mm,
So I've raised a couple of Gen Zers to the
sorry.
best of my ability. So
Sure, you've done a great job.
yeah, and so you're right. I think there are two things that are happening here. One is they're the first ones that grew up with cell phones. Cell
Hmm.
phones, the iPhone came out in 2008 or something. So they
Hmm.
basically, their whole lives, cell phones have been a thing.
Hmm.
And they got on them early, and everybody's got their face stuck in a little screen and nobody's connecting in person. So they're super socially awkward. They're
Hmm.
super smart and capable of stuff, but God forbid you put them in front of other human beings. That they find intolerable and cringy, like you say, and it's
Yeah.
because of lack of practice. And
Yeah.
even like you say, facial expressions, they'd rather. say it in a text message with emojis rather than actually give you a genuine smile on a video
Right.
call, right? Something like
Right.
that, even. And the second thing that hit them is the pandemic. And anybody that was going through their kind of 12 to 25-year-old stage
Yeah.
during social isolation, when you really need your peer group to model off of and learn that stuff from, they were denied that. So those kids, I believe, that generation's got some serious trauma or developmental delays that they're never going to overcome just because of that 3, 4 years of pandemic.
I I completely agree with that. It does worry me for them having relationships and
Hmm.
procreating, especially because if we're
Yes.
so top heavy with older people, and then they're the adults, the younger adults, what's going to happen? Going back to your point of like what's happening, we've never had a model like this, an economic model that could sustain this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. There are cities in China where the birth rate is now below zero point 0.7 per
Oof.
woman, and 2.1 is what you need. So every woman should have 2 children plus a little extra for ones that don't reproduce or die too early. So we're talking 2.1 is replacement rate to maintain a steady population. We're talking about zero point 0.7
Yeah.
in many Chinese cities.
Yeah.
So, like that's awful for the future of humanity for sure.
It's doomed, guys. It's doomed. Go have a kid.
Well,
But
by the way, my only parenting advice that I've ever given to anyone is like, because raising children is by far the most challenging thing I've ever done and the most rewarding, but by far the most challenging is unless you're 100% sure that you want to have kids, don't.
yes.
Because it's not required and it's fine. Society will sort itself out on a civilizational level, but it's whatever you think having kids is, it's a lot harder. So unless you're 100% committed, you're bringing them into this world. They didn't ask to be here, so you better be on board for the next 25 years to make
Uh,
sure that they launch.
I heard the best. It was from the book Eat, Pray, Love. There's this saying in or this quote in there where she goes, it's the main character's friend.
Uh-huh.
She has kids and she's like, hey, listen, like having kids is like getting a tattoo on your face. Like you have to be really sure you want it. It's
Ooh,
always
that's
going to be
good.
there.
Yeah, yeah. Visible tattoos, especially
Visible
above the
tattoo,
neckline.
yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's a whole thing, and it is just a very, very interesting time because we've never had a time like this on so many different levels with humans. I mean, maybe primally we're not evolving, but I feel like we are evolving just in social aspects.
Yeah, well, that comes back to the thing that I started with, which is that from an evolutionary standpoint, yeah, technically we're still evolving. Our molars are getting smaller. That's why you have impacted wisdom teeth and all that stuff. And your jaw is getting smaller. And, there's other adaptations like milk intolerance. We're actually
Mhm.
developing tolerance for that. And that's good stuff. But
Yeah.
it's not happening fast enough. Again,
Yeah.
200,000 years versus a few decades. We can't evolve our way out of this.
Hmm.
We're stuck with those hunter-gatherer brains. And so our prescription is understand that. Now, that doesn't mean that all of these things are tendencies, to be clear, right? You understand your behavior, understand why you're jealous, you understand why you have a wandering eye, you understand why you get attached, biochemically to people and call it love or soulmates. You can understand all that, but that you don't have to let it run your life.
Hmm.
Just because there's that ape in your head calling all the shots from the control room doesn't mean you have to listen.
Right.
So we are thinking creatures, we are feeling creatures. I believe we're spiritual and soul-based creatures, and so you can operate from that place. And that I know some people that have in midlife, created their second relationship, and it's lasting them their whole life. And so you can beat the odds, you can overcome them, you can swim against the rip currents. We just want people to be aware of what the base stuff is once you strip
Mhm.
off all the cultural overlays. And that should equip you for doing life a little better, a little more sober, a little more reality based.
I think that's a really good place to come from. I do. Because you can't deny any of what we've talked about today. You just can't.
Well, so a lot of people do. Apparently, this is controversial. That men and women are different is apparently like fighting words these
Oh,
days.
well, they are.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's as obvious as gravity to me.
Yeah. It's just different. But I do think, like you said, I mean, we have choice and we can choose what we want to do. Even if we're driven to do one thing, we can choose to have a different thought,
Yeah, and understand where those impulses are coming through
Right.
from. Think about whether they serve you or not.
Right. And also, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So for a quick example, so again, if you're a woman and you're not planning to have kids, locking in a man for a long-term relationship, does that actually serve you? So if you're past childbearing years, you don't need a provider. So then, then you can form your basis of relationships on a completely different set of assumptions and have better chance of success.
Okay, we have to talk about this. I know I was just about to wrap it up, but we have to talk about this last nugget because this is something I think about all the time. So I love that idea. And that's kind of partially where I'm going. There's the romantic in me that's like, no, my soulmate's out there. He's
same here. And it's really hard to give that up.
Right. Like I'm like, he's close. I can feel it. But in case maybe he's not, or there are multiple soulmates readily available still, I want to bring up my mother because my mom is in her 70s. She lost, my stepdad 2 years ago. And this is just so interesting because society has been taught, especially to women, right? Like mate for life, mate for life. And she's still thinking, she struggles back and forth. And I know this is not uncommon. Oh, I want to find someone, but also I really like being alone. And there's like this guilt of, oh, but I do like being alone. Do I really need another husband? Do I need this? I'm like, Mom, you don't. You're fine. You're fine. You can do whatever you want. And that I think is whether you're in your 70s or younger, like this idea and I'll just say for women, the idea that after childbearing age, you can do whatever you want.
Yes, it's a freeing stage of life. It's free of those responsibilities, those expectations, and you can have it on your terms. And so it's again, attention. There's one socially prescribed model, which is lifelong monogamy and commitment. And that is not what we evolved for as a species. So that's clear. So now that's breaking down, and socially we have the opportunity to kind of go off-roading. There's some support for polygamy communities, for other forms of being in intimate relationships, polyamory and stuff like that. And so there's no good rule book. Some of them are being written, but there's also no right answer. This has been the messy reality for us as a species the whole time. Yeah. What's unnatural is saying that there's only one right way to do it. And if you mess that up, we're going to destroy you financially. You lose your kids, you lose your house, that's really setting up for a lot of pain. So the best thing I hope that Limor and I can do with this book is get all of those cultural ideas out of your head and actually look at the underlying reality.
I love this. Guys, please go get this book. I love this book. It's so fun. It is such a good read. It's full of all the stuff we talked about, plus so much more. And it's just, seriously, it's hilarious. It's so fun to read this book. It's the best. Tim.
Wow. Thank you.
I loved our conversation. Please come on anytime to talk about anything you ever want. It just was so great.
Jackie, it was a lot of fun. And by the way, so you can get info about the book at primaldating.com. And so it's available as a paperback as well as an ebook. Some people have been asking about the audiobook. We're not planning to do that for at least a year. And this is going to be a workbook. You're going to be taking notes, whether it's in the ebook or the physical copy. You come back to it over and over. So get the physical copy and write on it, because it's going to be a tool for better relationships for you.
It really is. Thank you so much. You can find all of Tim's links in the bio. Just go ahead. The Cliff Notes. What am I trying to say? The show notes.
The show notes. Yeah, Cliff Notes. That tells me you're an Xer.
Yeah. No, I'm not actually.
You're a millennial.
I'm a millennial. Okay. Guilty as charged. All right, Tim.
The Gen Zs don't even know about Cliff Notes. Yeah.
I mean, it was a thing, as so many things used to be.
Like phone books.
Like phone books. Oh, actually, a phone book did land on my porch the other day, and I was like, what? How is this possible? It was weird. I was like, did I skip a timeline? Did something happen? Anyway, Tim, thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon.
Oh, Jackie, it was so much fun chatting with you.